In today's new video, we're going to be talking about how to perform the hip airplane. This is a great little tip for anyone that has low back issues and is trying to pick up a light object safely and without injuring their back. Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Coach Remi here, and we're back with a new video. I know it's been a while, and my apologies for being absent for the past couple months here, but I have a new video for you guys today that I think you really appreciate. And it's a little tip, a little trick that you could implement to lifting a light object off the floor safely and without hurting your back. So, the hip airplane. So this is a movement that you may have heard about from Dr. McGill's podcast, any of his lectures, or even have read about it or seen visuals in his book. And I want to explain it in a little bit more detail and depth today. So what I have here is a 15-pound kettlebell in front of me. So for one way that I would typically lift this is with a single leg deadlift or a golfer's lift. And that would be kind of primarily for something that's a lighter object. So for the 15-pound kettlebell, using that as just a light object for myself. It's not going to be light for everybody. So what I'm doing here is now I'm hinging back. I've got my right leg going back. I'm reaching, grabbing it with my right hand, and then I'm pulling my hips through. So in some instances, especially for someone that's a little bit taller like myself, that could maybe at times be a little bit challenging, especially if the handle wasn't so high. So if this object was a little bit lower to the ground, I would have more range of motion to go through. And this is where the hip airplane trick comes into play. So if I now go into that same position, now I'm going to deadlift down, I'm going to hinge down, hinge back, hinge it back, hinge back. Now I'm here. Now instead of reaching with my right hand, I have my left hand here, and now I'm going to open up, grab the weight, pull through. So what I just did is I go down, and then I give a bit of a twist, and then down. So here, by adding that twist in, it's giving me a little bit more motion to reach down safely without rounding my back. Because what you'll see at times is when people perform the golfer's lift, they'll get down, 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 but then to get right to the ground, they'll round their back. And that's just due to that extra motion that they may not have the appropriate mobility, or they just have very long levers that they may have to incorporate the hip airplane, which gives them a little bit extra motion as they open up and down. So just by opening up my hips here, I can reach down, I can pull forward. So the whole idea there though, is with the hip airplane, you're getting a little bit more extra motion safely because I'm not moving through the back in terms of rounding the back. And as I twist or open up with the hips, the motion comes from the hips here, and the back stays in a good neutral position. So I'm not twisting through the low back, I'm moving through the hips. So that's where the hip airplane would come into play if you're trying to incorporate into that in just an everyday activity and trying to lift something off the floor. It's a way to spare the back and prevent any flare-ups or prevent you from tweaking something, and allows you to lift a light object safely off the floor, especially if it's really close to the ground. We can also incorporate this as an exercise, and we may train this in the weight room where we can use this as a warm-up, where we have one person just balance on their leg, and then we just open up through the hips, and then we can use the arms here for support, open up. So right there, we're training balance, but we're also working on hip stability. And then we can even load that up where we grab a cable, and then we can open up and add a little bit of load to that. And we may perform that for 6 to 8 reps for an individual for a prescribed amount of sets. So that's one way I would incorporate the hip airplane in terms of a practicality standpoint, in terms of lifting objects off the floor. And then also you can use it as an exercise where you're training the gluteal muscles, the hip stabilizers there as well. So that's just a little tip that I wanted to share with you guys in this video today, is just the hip airplane itself, how to perform it, and the perks and benefits of it. Key thing is when you are doing it, just make sure you're really focused on that object and you're really opening up nice and controlled slowly. Don't rush the movement. Keep the knee slightly bent and keep a little bit of slight brace through the core. So that's the hip airplane. If you guys have any questions, comments about it, feel free to leave your questions in the comment section below and I'll be happy to get back to you. And also, if you guys want more back pain tips or you want to stay up to date what I'm doing with regards to back pain, performance training, maybe basketball training, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter at remisovran.com, where I provide a weekly newsletter about tips with regards to exercise, back pain, nutrition, you name it. And you also get up-to-date news about what's going on and what's happening in the future. So be sure to subscribe at my website, remisovran.com. With that being said, guys, until next time, all the best and have a successful and productive day. Take care.